right, good evening, everyone. Seeing that the 6:30 hour has arrived, City of Whitewater Municipal Community Room, August 24th, 2017. City of Whitewater Plan and Architectural Review Commission agenda is called to order. Get a roll call, please. Oh, 14th, I'm sorry, 14th.
Greg Meyer.
Here.
Lynn Binney.
Here.
Tom Miller.
Here.
Christine Tobias.
Here.
Sherry Stanek.
Here.
Right. That will move to item number 2, hearing the citizens' comments. No formal plan commission action will be taken during this meeting, although issues raised may become part of a future agenda. Specific items listed on the agenda may not be discussed at this time. However, citizens are invited to speak to those specific issues at the time the plan commission discusses that particular item. Is there any citizens' comments on something that is not on the agenda tonight? Seeing none, we'll move to item number 3. Review and approve the Plan Commission minutes of June 12th, 2017 and July 10th of 2017.
Move to approve.
Any questions or comments? We'll take a voice on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. That we will move to item number 4 and 5 on the agenda. Hold a public hearing for a conditional use permit for the change in ownership for a car dealership and repair facility at 1389 West Main Street for Burtness Chevrolet, Matt Bowditch. And hold a public hearing for the conditional use permit for a change in the ownership for a car dealership and repair facility at 1421 West Main for Burtness Chevrolet, Matt Bowditch.
So I gave you guys a planner's report with the entire history of both of these properties. You can see the one on the right is the older of the two, and then the one on the left. I'm gonna just kind of briefly go over these because the file was enormous on these. So the purpose of this conditional use is to document the use of the automotive service and repair building at 1421 East Main Street and 1389 East Main Street. This is required per City Code 19.27.030 of the city ordinance. The building is located on West Main Street, just east of the intersection of Indian Mounds Parkway and Main Street. The two sites have been automotive sale service replacement with 1415 West Main Street located between the two locations. I believe that's the hardware store. The older of the two is on the right. This originally started out as a grocery store, changed hands as a grocery store a couple times, and then eventually became a auto sale place. It's gone through a couple different hands at the auto sale place, now landing on what we are looking at today. So that's the first site. And then the second site we have is the addition to the other. They were both the same, with the same car lot, even though there's a property in between, but that's the one on the left, which is 1421 West Main Street. The first one, I'm gonna read the requirements per the conditional use. There was landscaping requirements at the time, and that by 10 p.m., only building-mounted security lights with up to 25% of the outdoor fixtures could remain on, and that was during a September 12th, 2005 meeting. And then April 13th, installation of landscaping berms along the rear of said lot to screen property, installation of bumper enclosures with concrete pads. A type of concrete pad was allocated, landscaping, parking islands, and concrete curb and gutter, and installation of decorative wall along the front of the property, and location of fire hydrant in the front. So then we go to the extension of the one that was on the left, which is the 1421 West Main Street. This is one that was put in 1997. This went through back and forth with the plan board numerous times, a lot of times. But a lot of the stuff that we see coming back is the site plan should interconnect I'm going to kind of skip down because a lot of the stuff that was going on at the plan board had a lot of engineering stuff. Normally that would be done by the time that it got to you guys. And there were like, the reports were just giant. But a lot of the complaints came back, and a lot of the stuff that kept coming back was landscaping and lighting on those. And so, you know, some of the requirements I think have been met, such as the egress in and out of the actual lots and whatnot, and a lot of that has been taken care of. But, you know, we're starting to see that the lighting kind of came up. The lighting and the landscaping came up numerous times. So, and I can go into more detail with that, but a lot of the stuff I just paraphrased because it was, I mean, it looks like it went rounds. So what I'd like to see is maintaining the requirements. This is what I'm asking for, is maintaining the requirements for landscaping on both the properties. Whatever we decide to do with the lighting, I'd like to have it consistent on both properties. I like that by 10 p.m. only the building mounted security lights can remain on. If you guys decide that you want to have the security lights turned off, I would just like there to be lighting around the doors because I think that's a safety issue. To me, that's a safety issue. If the applicant requires permission for additional lighting or changes, that we can review it and approve it in my department. Landscaping or fencing shall be provided and installed for parking areas located adjacent to residential. That's just the norm. We require like some kind of buffer, berm, fencing, something, normally anything adjacent to residential. A Knox box should be placed in the building and approved by the fire department. A number of years ago, this is on number 6 requirement, we had problems we just want to recognize that there are utility easements on the property. We had some difficulty with that a few years ago, and so I just want to recognize that there's utility easements on there. There was a lot of back and forth regarding the sign. It looks like at one point in time it did go into a variance. It went to a variance 2 different times when it changed owners. I'd like to ask that we just approve the signage per the requirements. So it has to remain in the same footprint, same size, no changes, but clearly they're gonna change out the name of what it is. So I'm asking for that to be done. And then just the standard approval by engineering, building inspector, fire inspector, and any other city department, and any conditions that you guys require. We did have 2 citizens things come in. They are in front of you. We have one on the front and one on the back. We just decided to save paper. So that's why they're 2 separate ones, but they're one on the front, one on the back. One of them is from 248 Woodland Drive, and you guys can see the letter right there, but he's concerned about the lighting. And, oh, sorry. And then we have one on the back that's just welcoming to the neighborhood.
All right. Is the applicant here? Would you like to come up and speak?
Sure. Can you give some questions or?
I'll open public comment at this time too, so.
Where do I go?
Right at the podium. Or you can sit down anywhere the mic is on, whatever you're comfortable with. You just have to be by a mic.
Oh, okay, I can stand.
Okay.
I need you to state your name for the record.
Matt Bowditch.
All right, is there any questions for the applicant? Lynn?
Are you aware that at this point, the pole lighting is on at night on one of these properties, but not on the other?
So I think the 1389, I've been messing with the lighting, trying to get it right. It's been a nightmare. Every day I'm back there trying to get it right. The 1421, I believe, is correct.
By correct, you mean what?
To be shutting off at a proper time.
That's not true as of last night.
Oh, really?
1389 was dark at about 11:45, but 1421 was still very well lit up.
Really? I was not aware of that.
So would it be your preference to have it on until 10? At one point, we had a suggestion of 9. I don't imagine those are the most current energy efficient lights.
No, they're not. My preference is, there's some folks that want to come in and not be bothered by salespeople and everything like that. If it is a dark lot, they can't see anything. So the later, the better. But I have been messing with them, with a couple of my technicians, trying to get them right. The 1389 West Main Street, our GM store, it does have, there's some photo eyes that have gone bad. I've had an electrician in looking at them. Didn't have a ton of direction, to be honest with you, from the previous owner, so I'm just trying to figure it out myself. So.
What are your normal hours of operation?
So Mondays and Thursdays are open until 8 o'clock at night. Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday until 6. Saturdays until 3, and closed on Sundays.
2 nights a week would be an additional 1 or 2 hours.
Yep.
Have you seen these comments?
Have not.
Yeah, we should certainly provide this to you. This is a neighbor on what's the closest residential street to the east. Considerable concern about the light spill going into properties there in her area. So I think in addition to the timing, we would want you to be looking at the positioning of those pole lights and see if we can't get them to reduce that spill.
So this is actually, I've already met with him about this because I had written up the previous owner. If you look up there, you can see 1421 Main Street, and you see how the lights looks down, and then you see 1389 West Main Street, and the lights are actually turned up at a 45-degree angle,
Right.
which was not what was on our lighting plan. I had written him up and asked him to put them down, like the above one. I've since met with,
Yep.
and he's been fairly busy.
Yeah.
So, but
Imagine.
yes, I know he was gonna be working on getting these put so they're down and not looking outward. So that's one of the changes.
The other, it just came to light, on the bottom picture, it would be the light pole that's closest to you. If you look at the head of that, if you actually were to drive by, there's something going on up there. It's like canted, like a strong windstorm came and kinda, so.
We've had those.
Yeah, we've had plenty of those. So, and I've looked at those, and I'm not the person to climb up there and try to fix that by any stretch of the imagination. I do have some lights that are out. That's on my to-do list. There's 4, 8, 16, probably, there's 16 lights on those light poles, and probably 6 of them are out right now. So I have to get somebody there to replace those.
You can rent a bucket truck next door.
I know you can, but I still don't, if you ever been up that high in a bucket, you don't want to. It's pretty unnerving, so. But from looking at them, I'll be honest with you, like those ones on the left side, I think the original intent, and I'm not speaking for the previous owner, but I think what the intent was by canting them is that those cars that are on the left would be lighted because there's trees between there. That would be, I guess that's what I'm assuming, that's why they were done. Are those the lights in question that are, and I haven't read this whole thing, are those the lights that are in question that are getting it?
I don't think this neighbor, well, wait, the 1389, she does refer to that. Yes, you're
But
right.
it's those lights that are affecting the residential?
Yes, she does.
From what we just got the letter. I just
Yep.
read the letter today, but I had talked to a previous landowner, and with those lights, it seems like it's getting in the back and into people's, I know, but, and then I started looking through the planner, like, stack of stuff, and it looked like they were always intended to be at a 90-degree angle, not that.
Sure, and I'm
you
not
know.
disagreeing with
Yeah,
that.
so I know that initially, when I was meeting with the previous owner, again, this is not
Yeah.
with you, one of the building inspectors went over and looked, and he said the kind of lighting it is something that could be tilted
Sure.
down and tightened, so it wouldn't be like he'd have to
Yeah.
replace the entire pole.
Yeah, and after our discussions, I was looking
Yeah.
at that. I'll be honest with you, being not
Yeah.
very energy efficient, eventually, I've been spending some monies where I didn't think I would have to spend some monies at. But I think we will be replacing those. A lot of the newer ones are LEDs, and they're almost motion activated, where they're at a dimmer, and like if a car drives by, they pop on and they go a little bit brighter. The only concern with those is just coverage, and especially along the east and the west lot lines to cover those cars for somebody who's looking to accommodate that. But after a certain time, they do dim back down too. So,
Yeah, I live on the back side of the property
Yeah.
too, and a directional, more directional light, it's lights in the back that are
Yeah.
really the boogers. A directional or a baffle on them.
those ones that are on the building?
Yeah, well, no, the ones that are on the poles themselves, the ones that are towards the back side of the building there, towards the field, you can see them pretty good through the trees and stuff, they light
Sure.
up pretty good. But then the ones on the back of the building too, they're bright, they shine out. If they had more of a directional baffle on them, I
Okay.
think it would
That
knock
would
it,
take a
it would
whole new
knock it down a
switch.
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, half those lights that are security lights, I call them, around the outside,
Yeah.
or that are attached to the building are out right now, as of right now. They're not even functional.
Be my suggestion there. Is there any public comments?
Come on up.
Yeah. Yep, no problem.
So my name is Andrew Crone. I live at 1590 Wildwood Road, and welcome, Matt, to the neighborhood.
Thank you.
I'm excited to have you here. I was one of the citizens that talked earlier about the previous owner's lights. So I live on Wildwood, which is the road to the south of Main Street. And with my family, if we want to go out and look at the moon or something, we go out to the street to look under the street lights to see it, because if we try to walk out into that barren field back between Main Street and Wildwood, it's just like having football stadium lights right in your eyes, and you can't go out there at night and walk around safely. And so where I am on Wildwood, we actually can see the lighting elements in the lights, the way they're angled. And I just want to kind of go over some of the reasons why I think it's absolutely you're compelled to require these changes in the lights. Is that if you look at the standards for analysis, that you don't create a nuisance for neighbors, that the conditional use of conforms to all applicable regulations, and the structures are consistent with sound planning. And those three areas, with the lights the way they are, those aren't met. If you look at the outdoor lighting standard, it says the intent of the standard is to create such limitations that are intended to prevent the creation of nuisances. And so basically, if you conform with the outdoor lighting standard, that's a way to know that you aren't creating nuisances with the neighbors. And like you said, the previous conditional uses and variances with Zing required addressing the lighting and having directional lights set up on it. And in the standard, in that outdoor light standard 19.57.150 statute, it talks about directional shields. And directional shields are defined under section 19.09.623. And in that, it mentions that no part of the lighting fixture, not just lighting element, but inside of the structure, should be visible at a 15-degree angle from parallel. And the way it is right now with the lights angled up, obviously the light is shining above parallel. And even if the lights were flat, it still would extend, from this far side of the light, could extend past the edge here. So really there should be some kind of shields below this, the lighting structure that shields a 15-degree angle. And right now, and also in the outdoor lighting statute, it talks about having a lighting plan that shows the angle of the light on the property. And once it reaches the building, that should be the edge of it, and none of it should extend beyond the property lines at all. So in addition to just saying put the lights flat or whatever, I think the statute where the light doesn't have a directional light beyond the property lines, as well as having those 15-degree buffers on the lights should be included in that, because I don't know whether being flat would be appropriate for not letting light extend past the property, since the property at 1389 is higher than the property at 1421. So in relation to the houses in the back, those lights even seem taller. The property at 1389 had suggested the lights go off at 10. The property at 1421, the Architectural Review Commission suggested the lights go off at 9. One of the points of this is usually by 10 o'clock, people are going to sleep and it's not much of an issue, but especially in the summer months where people are out longer and enjoying their yards, having the lights beyond till 10 takes up a big chunk of the time you'd be outside enjoying the outside. So I would suggest 9 o'clock, at least during the summer. Yeah, so I think it's definitely has impacted the use of my yard, and I've talked to other people who also have the same concern with it. And I know that Staylight will rent their truck for $300 to be able to get up to those lights. So it's not really a financial constraint, but yeah, and I think that's a reasonable use of your authority as a plan commission to enforce that. So thank you, and welcome.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing no other public comment, we'll close the public and we'll move to board discussion. Ben?
The other concern that I had in reviewing the previous conditions for 1421 was the indication that there was to be a fence installed on the south property line together with landscaping on the outside of the fence. There is no fence in evidence at all at 1421. And the odd thing is, there's a good deal of landscaping there on the south of the property. However, there's been pavement added on the south side of the access road there, and there's no landscaping at all on the other side of that, which makes me wonder whether that pavement addition was even approved.
Yeah, I don't know that off the top of my head.
It's got quite a row of pickup trucks parked on that.
We're being brought up.
Now, currently, granted, there's a good bit of natural landscaping, trees behind that whole area, and there's no residential area right close by, but someday that very well may change. So it appears to me that there was landscaping installed, not the fencing, but at least there was landscaping installed at what was at one time the end of the display of vehicles, but then this extra paving was, I'm guessing, added on later and never was addressed in terms of any landscaping or other kind of barrier.
I can remember that.
Me too.
I remember that being discussed, that pavement that was added in the back. I don't remember what the results were when I was on the board before.
Really?
That it was addressed, but I couldn't tell you exactly.
I think what happened is, and you're both right in your suspicion, Lynn, and your recollection. And my recollection is that it was put in initially without permission, and further that there was even citations issued and some kind of litigation involved in it. Then it came back before the Plan Commission, and I think it ultimately was approved. And I don't recall whether there was any additional landscaping features required, but I do think it came back after the fact and after citations were issued. So at least legal action was, I was involved in some of the legal action on it.
I could tell something, like, normally, my planner's reports, I give myself like a couple, this thing took me a day. I'm not kidding, sorting through all of the paperwork, and you could see that there was a lot of what appeared to be like maybe getting caught and then getting pushed back, but it's hard to piece together sometimes from the reports. But it went rounds, and I did not put all the planners' reports in there, but they were not nice. So,
Just kind of going over this, I'm looking on the January 12th of 97. It was, number 5 was a lighting plan. And on February 6th of 97, number 4 is recommended only shut-off type luminaries. No light shall spill off the site. And then again on January 6th of 99, all building and pole lighting should have cut-off luminaries. I think we should see that if these specifics have been made to these lighting, to this lighting,
yeah.
if they are the type of light that should be up there.
Well, and I think because this was done in 99, I'm wondering if like the lighting has improved, the type, like, you know what I mean, type of
Absolutely,
lighting.
it has.
That's part of why I've been working with him. He's been fairly pleasant he's been pleasant to work with. You've been very nice.
Fairly.
I'm sorry. He's been really busy. That's fair. That's the fair thing to say. So he's been super busy, but he's also returned my calls and worked with me on stuff. And I had basically the minute that he came in, I said, you need to be aware that I've been writing up the previous owner for lighting. So he's aware of this. I think what we are gonna have to do is sit down and probably piecemeal together what is going on with the lighting, and I'd like the same requirements to be on both sites, because like one has 9 o'clock, one has 10 o'clock, one has this, basically zero light catching off of the site was reiterated on both of them, which I agree with, but, you know, the first things first is just even pushing the lights so they're facing down and then kind of going from there, I think. But I agree, the lighting needs to be done. We've had complaints from that neighborhood back there, and there should have been a fence installed, quite frankly, or some kind of buffer between, that's like, so,
It seems completely reasonable to me that we should follow the ordinances that we have.
right.
As outlined by Mr. Crone. And I think the neighbors have every right to expect to be able to use their yards without feeling like they're in a stadium.
Right.
It may very well be that those light poles and lights that were put in there, at some point bulbs were replaced with not the right bulbs, and who knows, maybe it isn't even, you know, like you have to remake everything. It might just be a matter of retrofitting. But I think it's perfectly reasonable to approve this with the recommendations from the planner and making sure that we are meeting the requirements of our own ordinances as far as the landscaping and the lighting goes.
The only thing that I'm gonna ask you guys is that if you wanna do 9 or 10 o'clock, and I'm asking that they both be the same time so that we can enforce it equally.
You said you close at 8? 8 is your later night?
Yes.
I don't know.
The ordinance allows the light to stay on past, just at a 25%.
Yeah, and it does say that in the planner report during,
Yeah, and you're talking about motion sensor lights
That's
potentially.
down the road. I've got
Something,
some
but-
bigger fish to fry right now.
Yeah, but I
but-
mean, that mean if a car drives by at 11:30 or a car drives by at 2 in the morning,
Or a cat
Want
runs
the
through the
lights.
parking lot, it could
First
be-
one.
or if somebody goes walking through the parking lot, it could happen.
the deer go by.
Right, right. So, Is it the same for everybody in town? Or is it just gonna be specific to us?
Should be the same.
I'm gonna push this one
Yeah.
forward.
Which requirement, the time?
Yeah,
That's something that the plan commission has discretion for. No,
Sure.
I don't think there's a standard that is a general standard in town. Rather, it's looked at for each particular site in the surrounding areas.
There's, the statute mentions 1 hour past closing time.
Ordinance?
The ordinance,
Mhm.
and anything beyond that is, and I think that's at 5 o'clock, or 1 hour past the last employee leaves. Anything beyond that requires variance.
I'd have to look at that. I'm not sure that doesn't sound familiar to me, but it may be in there.
I think, I guess I would be fine with on the September 12th, 2005, where it started at 10 o'clock. I don't see why we can't just carry that through 9:30 to 10 o'clock. I think is pretty fair.
Especially if the lights are corrected.
Yes.
And of course, if there is what Andrew cited, if there's something there, we'll have to be in compliance with that. I'd have to look at it.
Item I,
In the what?
19.57.150, section I, talks about when the lights go off. And it just says 1 hour after closing the store.
But when we're talking shift though too, that could be when the actual last person
Right.
leaves. So
and we have had customers that,
that's what I
9
was
o'clock
just
at night.
thinking, that person that shows up 5 minutes before you guys close.
Doesn't give any actual time of day, just in relation to when business is not open.
I agree, and there's no reason for stadium lighting back there, there's none, but the only thing is I do want lights going down for people that are getting, especially walking out the back of a building, maybe with money, to be able to see what's at their car, so.
Did you say, Andrew, 19.57050?
150. 19.57.150.
I better read the whole thing because it's got some more to it. Hours of illumination within 1 hour after closing of the store, completion of the final work shift or completion of specific activities associated with an institutional use, only building-mounted security lighting, and up to 75% of all other outdoor lighting fixtures may remain illuminated.
Does 75% may remain?
25%, I'm sorry. If I said 75%, I meant 25%.
Did we close the public comment?
Yeah, we'll close public comment, yes.
Well, let's try and get a recommendation here, or a motion. Move to grant conditional approval of the request for 1389 and 1421 West Main Street. Actually, we've got east there in the recommendation. Subject to the city planner's recommendations. I also would want to add on to item number 1, that discussion be held with the city planner regarding landscaping to the south of the added pavement on the south side of the property at 1421, and that an agreement be reached and followed through on, or something like that. On number 2, I guess for starters, I'd go with 9 o'clock there for the lighting to be off, and also adding that the positioning of the lighting and directional shields must meet the code in order to eliminate nuisance to whatever. To the neighboring properties. Otherwise, on item number 5, a Knox box will be placed on the buildings plural. And number 6, all easements established, ED, on these lots are to be recognized by the owner.
No, I could envision a situation where somebody comes to the dealership.
I'll second that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, there we go.
And continue.
Oh, sorry. I can envision a situation where a customer comes 5 minutes before the end of the business day and is still there at 9 o'clock, because car dealing, I mean, if somebody's gonna purchase a car, it's not a quick thing. So I don't know if 9 o'clock, and granted, hopefully you sell a car every day at the end of the day, but, I mean, it probably won't happen all the time, but when it does happen, you'd have to have people leaving and have it be dark,
There'll still be security lighting. It's not like it's gonna be completely dark.
and 25% of the lot.
We should have people at the microphone if they're going to
Yes,
speak,
yes.
Mr. Chairman. Actually, public comment is closed.
I believe a 9 o'clock limitation wouldn't necessarily prevent them from keeping the lights on past 9 o'clock if there's a person there selling the car, because the statute allows the lights to remain on 1 hour past the end of the last shift. So if the last shift happens to be going past 9, I guess you could write it saying, unless, you know, the hours in the statute are still.
I don't know how true this is, because for what it's worth. But one of the problems I was told is that they're on timers. I don't know. So it's not like where we walk in and just manually turn on and off stuff. They're automatically shut down.
I would agree, and it might be
Yeah.
impractical for all the salespeople to know the intricacies of changing that. Would you rather have 9:30? Would that be your preference? Or are you arguing for 10?
Probably 9:30 would be better than 9, I think. And that's assuming that the direction of these lights is gonna change too, so that it isn't light pollution for all of the neighbors.
They will be changing. I'm,
I think
no,
they
like,
will.
I don't want to get into that, but yes.
As soon as I get somebody
Yeah.
hired to replace those bulbs, they'll be shifting them.
He has been very good to work with for what it's worth.
Okay, so,
Like to go with?
Yep, I'm fine with 9:30.
Okay with 9:30? All right, we're revising to 9:30.
9:30, all right. Any other questions or comments?
Do we want to put a time limit on when those lights have to be changed by? I know you're saying you're going to have somebody come and when the bulbs are changed. It would be nice to know that there's an end date, you know?
I'm going to agree with her. I think that saying we'll be in compliance by X date, what would work for you?
I haven't even contacted anybody, to be 100% honest with
Okay.
you. And I don't know what their availability is. but,
Right.
I can get on the phone tomorrow morning.
So what I would like to say though is like, for one, because I have to re-shift through all of these paperwork
Yep.
and like I found all the motions, but I've got it, it's not been a fun file, but we need to get through that and then I'll have to sit down with you and give it to you, like give you
Yep.
this stuff.
If you told me it had to be done by the end of the week, if it, at the
Well, let's
next month-
not, let's not.
Yeah, no,
I want it done sooner than later, but I don't know that we can get it.
I was
Right.
thinking more like 30 days.
Yeah, that's
Not-
what I think she
Yeah.
was going with, like
Yeah,
X
yeah,
amount of
and
days.
That's completely fine.
Okay, so do you want to do that? And then if we run into a hiccup, as long as I'm documenting what the hiccup is
You can
and
handle
why.
it.
I think that would be fine. Which reminds me, on the landscaping, we probably should address a date there, and I don't think that's nearly so urgent, and so I would suggest, say, by June 1st of next year to address that subject.
Yes.
Okay,
What was the date on that? I'm sorry.
June 1st of 18.
Any other comments or questions? Does everybody pretty much understand it now? Do we need to read it back? Are we good? Okay, we've had a motion, had a second. We'll take it to roll call, please.
Greg Meyer,
Aye.
Lynn Benny,
I'm
Tom Hinsfader. Sorry, Tom Miller. Man, it's so automatic.
Aye.
Christine Tobias. Aye. Jerry Stanek.
Aye.
Ayes have it, so ordered. All right, with that, we will move on to item number 6, which is the discussion. Where did there he is. Okay, item number 6, discussion of landscaping at 122 North Prince Street for Ryan Hughes.
No, if it's,
Ryan's here. I'll also open the public comment to it this time.
So, I've done a couple things. I've put up the landscaping plan. I had my NSO go out and take pictures today, and these are all 3 on the slides, and I can shift back and forth. And the third one is that we've had some changes happen in our department since this, which is stuff that we've addressed. But so here's what we have now, currently, with landscaping. And then, these are changes that are starting to be implemented because I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I am a planner and I am good at some things in planning, but I am not like a certified forester. And I will be very honest with that. I just know that like a tree is pretty, but I couldn't tell you what kind of tree it is. So that's one of the reasons that we've done this. So since about 2015, one of the things is I've been trying to work with urban forestry to update the landscaping policy. Now this we've all been very busy, so this has kind of taken a little bit of a back seat. Urban forestry started looking over the really big projects with landscaping because I don't know what some of the stuff is. I'm looking at getting a person added to my department to write up to write up a report. This would be like 10 hours a month. But just to write up a report saying like, yes, they met these requirements, because I'm not a certified, again, I couldn't tell you any of the stuff, only that there is a bush in the location where it's supposed to, I'm sorry, I'm just being 100% honest with you guys on that. We did go in and adopt a policy, this board did, for multifamily and planned development, so we can give out guidelines, because we didn't have that before. And the other thing that's been going on is that we've been reviewing all of the conditional use permits in our department, which range from now back to 1990s. And so that's something that's been going on. So I will go back to the landscaping plan with that said. Here we go. And there it is. All right, I'll let Ryan talk.
I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to address here. I can kind of give you a rundown of what's occurred. So about last summer, the landscaping went in per the plan. I guess this spring I had touched base, there's a local professional lawn care service who handles the mowing. And he suggested we could kind of go about the yard a couple different ways. We could overseed at that time, or we could put the weed killer down and overseed in the fall, and we decided to go. He's put a couple applications, a 2,4-D down, and we plan to overseed in the fall. I've added several trees to both Prince and Main Street. There's a utility easement on Prince Street, so we're limited. They're probably too close to the building, but we don't have any options. And then there's also stormwater piping along Main Street that we have to be cognizant of, and so the trees are close to the, added several perennial bushes as well, and replaced and taken out items in the bioretention.
Switch, so there you can see the landscaping.
So what we're saying is we don't know whether it complies with what it was supposed to do.
Well, it looks like, from what the landscaping was, again, it looks like he's put in more, but per guidelines, this was one of the weird ones that actually triggered the stuff, because per guidelines, you have to put in so many trees per tree removal. To meet the policy, it's a policy requirements, he would have had to put something like 58 trees on the lot. I'm not making this up.
28.
It was something, it was nuts.
Yeah. There
Because
was
of the.
no place to put
Yeah.
them.
So that was one of the things that prompted the discussion with the UFC, was because I was like, okay, in lieu of doing this, can we say like, okay, we can, so that's been something that I've been working on with the UFC. I've heard a lot of people complain about the landscaping, and I guess more first, there's two things that we can do. First of all, I want to know if you guys aren't happy with the landscaping, how can we rectify this in the future when stuff comes to us? Because that's what we need to do. We need to, so like, one of the things we did change policy, because when people were calling me, I didn't know what necessarily to tell them with certain things. And so that's been one of the changes that's come out of this. But I guess because I know that you guys are not happy with it, what don't you like, and how can we improve the process? And that's kind of, and then Ryan's here to answer questions too, because I know Tom, you'd requested Ryan be here, and he's here. And so I guess I'm going to turn it over to you guys and just kind of, go from there. But to me, like, you look at what he put in, and he put in what was shown to us in the landscaping policy, or the plan that he showed. The only thing that,
Do we know that for sure?
not off the top
I
of my
sure
head.
can't tell from here what kind of spirea something is.
No, I
so-
can't, and that's,
Right,
yeah.
and we shouldn't
Yeah.
be expected to. So it sounds like, on the one hand, we want to get some feedback on the current issue that some
Right.
people have expressed being not less than happy about.
Right.
And the other one is, how do we prevent this going forward? And it sounds like you having that landscaping person's going to help, because then that's somebody who can go back to the plan, which I don't think I have in front of me. Maybe I
We
missed
don't,
it.
all we have is
Right.
the printout, yeah.
And can go and verify that, yes, that's a spirea and this is, not
Yeah.
whatever. And then come back and give their expert opinion with a
Sure.
report, right?
Right.
So we're not here, we don't know for sure if it's the same. as-
Right. I
right.
couldn't tell you which tree, yeah, you're right.
Right.
And,
Okay.
and the problem is like both myself and my building inspector, we are good at some things.
I can tell you, Christine, that things were planted. pretty much according to plan. However, when most projects like this are done, they're, you're using a 3-gallon cone flower and not a quart cone flower. When you're done, you're looking at a finished exterior. This did not look like that. It looked kind of ratty.
So did
to
we
be
not
honest.
specify that in the plan, the size of the?
No, and that's why
Okay.
that's why
Yeah.
the
Okay.
And
landscape guidelines are being redone. Ryan
Yeah.
did what he was supposed to do, but we didn't specify when we were approving it.
And then remind me, this was last summer?
Correct.
Well, and then,
I think you were here in, was 2015?
2 years ago.
But the occupancy would have been last summer.
Right.
so unusually hot and droughty, right? And then, of course, we know the first year they sleep, the second year they creep, the third year they leave. That's the adage about perennials, and these are all perennials we're talking about. So it always looks sparse earlier on, so, and that's something that I think the UFC can address when they update. There's certain things you can do to have some of the plants look a little fluffier at the beginning. But understanding that the bushes and the trees are really gonna start, especially after this milder winter, or this milder summer, they're really gonna start, growing much more quickly next year. But you were gonna say something, Tom?
Yeah, Ryan has made some steps with the trees and things, but in the front, he has a couple of black-eyed Susans, for example. Giving it some color, it just needs a little more of that. And those aren't really expensive plants. The bushes, like in the bottom right-hand corner there, it's pretty blah. It just needs some color, and then, you said you're gonna overseed the lawn. Well, it's about 80% weeds right now. It's green, but it's not grass. To speak of, yeah, I understand that you planted it, but nobody was watering it either.
It's an important corner.
But I think it just needs some color. And then, doing something with the lawn. I don't know if overseeding is the answer or not. I'm not a landscaper, but it is. I walk by there often, and it's, like I say, it's about 80% weeds. But like I say, you had the trees planting and everything, and the land, and some of the bark that the landscaper, they're all steps in the right direction, and it looks better.
Is this something where we can ask the UFC to make a recommendation for a couple of flowering plants that would?
We could ask them.
That's what I was gonna
Yeah.
say, Sherry, that's something that, now, can the UFC kind of recommend on these planting, what size plants in the future, when you come up with this, with the planting plan? It would be,
Generally, you have a landscape company that comes in, does the plan, and plants everything, and so it's usually uniform. If anything, they normally overplant because they want it to look finished the day that it's done. It isn't usually a problem that things are underwhelming.
Well, and I know too, one of the things that we've been working on is basically it's a point system. But one of the things that we were leaning towards was you get higher points for stuff that's native to Wisconsin, so that it'll stay, it'll grow, instead of planting something, I don't know, like a palm tree, because again, know nothing about plants, and then it dies, and then now we're left with a bunch of dead plants in the front of some of these. So that was another thing that we were looking at. I think that's a direction I would like to go, because then that way we're sticking with
Makes
stuff that'll,
sense.
And some grasses in there, like the city has been planting in between on the streets there and stuff. Easily taken care of, not a lot of water, and they look very nice. Prairie Village out there put a lot of the grass in, and it gets up 3 feet or so, or high, and it looks very nice. you know, some things like that,
Pampas
rather
grasses
than
and
just a
stuff.
bush
Yeah.
that sits there and,
You know, if I may, Ryan, a couple weeks ago, we had Mike Ketchel here for his new development down on Starin Road, and it's a big development, and we were unhappy with the finish of the building. And we said, this is a gateway to the community, and we expect more in exchange for the higher density that we offered, that we agreed to with Mike, and the same thing that we agreed to with you. And that's just basically the cost of being on a high-profile corner like that. You're going to get scrutiny from the community, rightly so. And, you know, the community is going to be judged by how this looks, and we're talking about a relatively low-cost thing. So we do expect for people like you and Mike Catchell and people who take prominent locations to really exceed our expectations. And then when things happen, like weather, you know, a bad droughty summer, to continue to maintain it in that quality, because that's, you know, we want to have a good relationship with you. We want, you know, if you exceed our expectations and come back with the next great development, then we're going to be more likely to work with you. So it's just, it's, you know, I think it's the minimum that we can expect. So I hope that helps you understand.
Any other questions, comments? No? Alrighty, well, with
The
that.
recommendation, are we going to then
No,
ask?
I think we were just discussing it.
Just
and
discussing.
And
Yeah.
I need to get back with the UFC, the person, I can talk about it later, but, we were working towards something, it's gotten put on hold because of other outside reasons, but, I think that that's working in the right, we're working in the right direction, because really, when you guys give me something, when I have something solid to recommend versus like stuff that I'm not real familiar with, it's helpful, so.
you know, we just need to have something done. The fall and the spring are the best time to plant.
Yeah,
Not in July and August. So, I mean, if he's gonna have some requirements, you know, maybe a fall planting, you know, we would get something, you know, for that, or in the spring. But those are the only, you know, if you want something to last, that's pretty much when you gotta plant.
And then I think it's fine to make certain recommendations as a bridge now, but I do love the idea that you are talking about hiring somebody who can be the staff person.
Yeah.
And that this shouldn't, you know, that sort of, I think inspection aspect should not be handled by a commission and wherever, made up of volunteers. So I think it's great that somebody, you know, moving forward will have a plan for that.
right, and really what we're gonna be doing is that they'll go out, after everything's finished, they'll go out, write up just a report, like they met this, this, and this. If they had to switch gears and put something else in, they can write up why, and then we can put it in the
Right.
folder. In 15, 20 years down the road, we can go, okay, this is what happened, so. So, okay,
Is everybody good? All right.
might as well just stay right there.
Okay.
All right, with that, we'll move on to item number 7. Conceptual review of a proposed plat for the vacant land on the west side of North Trask Street, includes parcel numbers 004-0515-3233-008 and DW 600009 for Ryan Hughes. And this is only conceptual again.
Okay, so I'll just kind of recap. This area was previously annexed. It's about 10.6 acres. It straddles the county line, so it's in both Walworth and Jefferson County. And you can see, just if you guys glance up, there's the overall proposed plat. So I'll go ahead and, all right, so I'm just, again, gonna just kind of go back over some of the stuff. You've got the annexation location up there. Right now, currently, it's ag transition on one side and R3 on the other. In the future land use map, we've got future neighborhood, and then we've also got higher density. And you can see, I tried to outline it in red so that you guys could see where stuff falls. And then you can see what's around it. And the top map is zoning, and then the bottom one is future land use. I also give the definitions of what these mean in your planner's report. I know that you guys, I've said them a couple times, but you can kind of see what's going on there. So it's in it, kind of almost like a transition area from higher density to not as high rent density. And then you have the neighborhood that's just north of that, that's actually R2. So that one up north is R2. Okay, so in addition to that, we've got, this one is the West Neighborhood, Whitewater Neighborhood Development Plan, and this was adopted in 2002. And you can see the red circle is the area in question that we're talking about. This was what was, you know, the future neighborhood. It talks a little bit about what that is. It's mixed residential area with just, it kind of goes down the line of that. It's kind of hard to see. I apologize for the screen, but you can see down the center is like a, like an open space area, and then you have kind of a mixed use, and then up north of that, you can start to see that the R2 that was designed. So in addition, we have the area and development below. You can see the red circle around it. This is actually for this is under the 2035 regional transportation map, which kind of shows where development such as the roads could take place. So you can see there was always intended to be a road in that kind of area. Actually, this is just to the south of where it is, but you can see that split off there too. Okay. If I'm going too fast, you guys just let me know. Okay, so what I did was just to give you an idea of how this would fit in with the future neighborhoods, and I should have probably, you know, kind of switched this around, but in the north area on the overall map, so like if you're looking at the overall map, I'm looking at this area right here, which is up on top, and this area down below, which is on the map here. And then what I did is I outlined them in red so you guys can see. The northeast portion located in Jefferson County is proposed concept site, are townhomes. Again, because this is proposed and we're looking at the plat, there's not any information with the actual townhomes. So we're just right now looking at the proposed plat area. There are 3 two-story townhome buildings that are approximately 2.53 acres for the overall plan. This area they've added detention areas up on the north end for water runoff, and this could potentially be an R2 or R3 zoning. So you can see that transition moving north, going down in density. I give the definitions of what R2, attached townhome dwellings up to 4 units per building, minimum lot area requirements and whatnot in that. Or it could also be R3, which would be multifamily attached with a adjoining wall. But that's what he intends with that portion. So when you go just south of that, on the other side of the road, actually all of the actual buildings are in Walworth County, although the plat itself straddles Walworth and Jefferson. He has the higher density residential there. And so that would most likely need to be something like an R3. Again, he's got the detention ponds. And then I give the definitions of R3, like up to 4 units or over 4 units. If it's over 4 units, it requires to come to plan board with the R3. If it's under, then it doesn't. So that's that area right there. Okay, so then we basically looked at the north east and then the southeast area. What he's intending on doing is, as it moves back, it turns into single family. So it'd either be R1 or R2. He could put single family or duplex on these transition areas. Again, that neighborhood that's north, there is land between these 2 spots, is R2. That R2, I don't believe has any duplexes in it that I can think of off the top of my head. It's really filled up this summer. There's been a lot of building going on there. So this would open up lots. And again, he's thought about the retention ponds. And so, and again, I just want to reiterate this. we're looking at the plat right now. We're not really looking at, so he's not gonna have the actual drawings for the buildings or anything like that. But with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Ryan, if you'd like to talk about it.
Sure. Like Chris mentioned, we're looking for your feedback, I guess, and comments on this. Really just kind of wanted to follow, I guess, what we have from the West Neighborhood Plan, and we're trying to mimic that. Took some feedback from the other meeting. I know there was talk about residential. I don't know if that stretch of road that's coming in here would be ideal for residential, and I think probably multifamily is on the lots. They're big enough, but I see it more as a transition to what would be probably more single family to the north eventually. And this is one of the versions I think that we originally did, and then
Oh, yeah, sorry, this is an older
Yeah.
one. I grabbed the wrong one.
We
I
moved,
apologize. The right one is actually with you guys, I'm sorry.
the retention pond to the front, so maybe a water feature with water movement to make sure the water wouldn't be stagnant.
There you can see the,
So the southeast would be more of a traditional apartment, whereas the northeast would be the townhouse. And this would be phased probably over a number of years. Not knowing what's going to occur around it, I guess I'd prefer that it come in as R3 is what I would look at the entire site, but just knowing that we would transition the size and scale of the buildings onto the smaller lots as you progress into the plat. So I don't know if Adam, if you have anything to add or if there's questions.
No, Adam Coyle with Accent Management. My potential role would be a co-investor or co-manager. I think that, I would say the same thing. I would hate to see that limited early on when you don't know what's going to happen around it or what the actual student demand is. So I would prefer to bring it in saying that we'd be looking at R3 across the entire development.
You're looking at the whole thing being R3 or transitioning down to the R2?
I would like the flexibility of the R3, and if once we got back to that point, if it was something that fit with R2, we could go that way, but I'd like the flexibility to know that that's there.
I like the idea that you would have a buffer there, whether it's, I wouldn't necessarily want it to all go to, I wouldn't necessarily want it to all be R3. Understanding that obviously when you bring plans back, then that's a whole different thing. But I don't want to tie our hands either.
I will open to public comment now, too, if anybody would like to speak.
What kind of phases is this?
I think we'd have to look at it and see where you would, I guess, recommend a road stopping, but I can see this being done maybe as potentially 3 phases.
Covering how much time you think?
It would just depend on how it's
on the call,
absorbed.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, which would you build first, the townhouses or the apartments?
That's a good question. Most likely the apartments, just to get the mass and to be able to staff it.
do you plan, do you plan on the lots behind it? Are you guys gonna build those or are you gonna sell them? That's just, I know that's pretty ahead of the game knowing that, but that was just curiosity.
I guess it would just depend on how everything was absorbed and, yeah, not something I know the answer to today.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Lynn?
I like the idea of the townhomes to the north there. With this being a transitional area with a lot of single-family housing pretty much directly to the north there. And we've heard need for more family-oriented housing, which I think the townhomes could certainly help to address, as opposed to so much apartments that we've had going up. I would also call attention to page 3 on Chris's report here, the last sentence of the second paragraph, this coming from the West Neighborhood Development Plan. Monotonous building facades and box-like buildings typical of student housing should be avoided. In my mind, this also hopefully becoming more of a transitional area. I'd really like to see it stepping up in terms of the aesthetics to make it more residential appearing and less student housing appearing stereotypically.
Brian, did you got a copy of my planner's report, correct? Just, I got it emailed to you.
Correct.
Okay.
This is all, this down here is the R3, correct?
Yeah, so this is R3. This right now is AT,
Right.
ag transition.
Right,
And then right up here is
is the
R2.
R2.
Right. And then we've got another kind of, this is not city, and this is not city, right here.
All right. Well, does anyone have any other questions or comments or suggestions? All right, I guess, well, with that, we don't have anything to move on, so,
Do you want to, Wally, would you mind just talking about the next steps for this, so that,
Well, I'm just trying to recall, as far as, I think the zoning has already gone to the council, hasn't it? That's
this
been-
is a weird one.
Temporary zoning for
yeah.
the 12
Right.
months, but we didn't go through that.
Right.
I wanted to get this plan before.
Then the next step would be to have a public hearing on the zoning, and,
Can we do it at the same time as the plat? And I'm asking this
Sure.
because I want it to follow boundary lines,
Sure.
not be all.
sure, yes, there would be should be no problem with that. I mean,
Okay.
you'll have to coordinate everything, but I think there'd be a petition for final zoning, and then the plat could move along with that, and then there'd be a public hearing by the Plan Commission on the permanent zoning, and then a recommendation to the city council for the permanent zoning.
all right. And I guess we will move on to item number 8 then. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Right. Item number 8 on the agenda, hold a public hearing for consideration of a conditional use permit to allow for conversion of a single-family home into a duplex at 209 North Prairie Street for RLA Properties, Randall Ashbrunner. The property is currently owned by Jeff Hale.
This is an existing dwelling, it's a single family. The proposed converts from an existing single family to a two-family attached dwelling. current lot size is unknown. At the time that I got my planner's report, this last couple weeks have been really crazy. I didn't have any information with this, so I didn't have the layout of the property. So the conversion will have 2 units. This is referred to as drawing A, or Unit A and Unit B. I tried to do color on the planner's report so you guys could kind of see how it shifts there. The top one is in red, and that's 1 unit, and then the bottom one, which you can't see very well, is actually in orange, and that's the 2nd unit. I just did that so you guys could see how it's moving around. So my planner recommendation, four parking stalls will be required under 19.51.130. The drive is to be hard surface with concrete or asphalt. Residents will have a number parking stalls, hanging tags, or parking stickers to identify permanent vehicles. Yeah, and then I also need it shown on a map, because at the time I didn't have that. Landscaping or fencing needs to be provided and installed for parking. Again, no site plan at the time was provided. The plan will need to indicate the amount of impervious surface, which must follow the standards of R2 District 19.18.070 lot coverage. The planner reserves the right to have engineers approve the amount of impervious surface. No site plan at the time was required. The lot needs to meet the minimum lot size per 19.18.040B. What happened was, at the time that I started reviewing this, normally what happens is I plan out so much time to do planners reports. I started getting into the Zing-Burtness one and was severely overwhelmed, which pushed all of my other plans back. I got into this one without having a site plan. I got onto the particular zoning area. If you look back here, tried to show you guys on this map. I didn't have a site plan, but there is an odd sliver right here that goes out. Again, I know I've explained this to you guys a lot, so I apologize, but GIS is, the lines themselves are fairly accurate, but the pictures underneath, just pretend like you're trying to take a picture and wrap it around a basketball. And so the pictures do get distorted. And so when I saw that, I assumed that that sliver was supposed to be or going to be part of this development. When I originally wrote up my planner's report, I had a very different idea of what was written on here. So that's why after I got a call from the city clerk asking why I was requiring them to join a lot, because there was a lot line going through, that's when I discovered that there was no intention of purchasing or morphing those 2 lots together. So that's why on one end, I apologize that this seems semi-incomplete, but that's kind of where I was at. And I was discovering this last minute to get these planners reports out to people. I try to get them out prior to the meeting by at least, I try to get them out at minimum the Wednesday prior to this meeting so that people have time to research the stuff that I'm requiring from them. And so I did not, with all of my scheduling, and it has been really weirdly crazy lately. I can't even begin to explain it. There was no way I could go back and redo any of these numbers. So that's why what's written in the planner's report is the way that it is. So, I don't know lot coverage, but it has to follow the lot coverage stuff. The minimum lot needed is the 12,000 square feet for a 2-family. At the time when I originally wrote the planner's report, I had figured it with that sliver in. So I just didn't get back in and recheck it, but that's also the burden. You guys have to show that stuff. So this is the part that the lot does not meet minimum lot width for a duplex. However, under 19.18.050 lot width, a non-conforming lot that does not meet the minimum lot width above may be considered as a buildable lot if it meets all other standards in 19.60.050. Is reviewed and approved by the City and Architecture Review Commission. This lot is currently only 66 feet, and a duplex requires it to be 100 feet. Again, when I originally wrote my planner's report, I thought that the front of, and this is you know, a classic, when we get these curves, you see where the minimum lot width in the front might not meet, but then you start to look at the lot, so it might be 66 feet in front, but it could be 112 feet in back. But this lot is 66 feet all the way back. So this is gonna be a decision that you guys make here. Each unit shall have no more than 3 unrelated per 19.18.020D. More than this will be a violation and shall result in the revoking of this conditional use. So, the exterior of the building needs to be consistent when finished, so just if they go in and remove windows or anything like that, I want it to all be one thing and not just like a boarded up white window or something odd. A Knox box will be placed in the building and approved by the fire department. The building will need to meet minimum usable floor area per 19.57.130 of city code, and then approval by the engineering, building inspector, fire inspector, and any other city department. The building inspector is the big one for me. I just want to make sure when the conversion happens, everything is up to code. So, and then any other conditions identified by city staff or you folks.
The applicant?
Hi. I have an updated site plan that I can pass out to you guys, if you'd like.
Absolutely. I'll also open the public comment.
Thank you.
Existing plans on the next page, and future plans, third page.
Thank you. Can you state your name for the record, Jeff?
My name is Jeff Hale. I guess to begin with, as Christine stated earlier, Main Street is more or less the gateway to our community, and I think most folks would consider Prairie Street the gateway to the campus, to the university. There are several houses on Prairie Street that could probably appear much better than they do presently. And I think Randy has done a wonderful job in improving almost anything that he's acquired in Whitewater, turning it into a very pristine, pleasant ambiance, and this would help start things going on Prairie Street a little bit. If you look at some of his other stuff that he's done on Center Street, and I mean, he does take the time and the effort to really make things nice. I think we're almost 2,000 square feet over the minimum lot size, and we'd hope that you would consider giving us the approval to turn this into the duplex, so that this could also be an upgraded parcel on Prairie. Thank you.
Thanks. You said that this is an update here, or?
Of the site plan, since there,
Of just
I did,
site plan.
I did submit a site plan. It was way past due than Chris and I would like, so,
Yeah, I have to plan like everything out because I do get really busy, and with my phone calls that I get, there's just no way. There's no way I'm sorry.
For the purpose of the planning commission meeting, obviously I wanted to have a surveyor do this professionally right away, but Greg Knoll suggested that, last week when I was in there for another permit question on another property, he said just at least get like a Google Earth map or an overview. So I had Home Lumber generate that top picture of the site map, and then I just added some detail hand sketch for tonight, just to show you guys that there is quite a bit of natural buffer already between the properties, with people on basically east of us, that there's a chain link fence already on the east, north, and south ends of the backyard. and I would like to just plant arborvitae, basically right in front of where the 4 to 6 parking stalls would be in the back of the house, just so there's some vegetation and buffer after November or December of each year, when all the greenery and foliage, goes down for the year. This is a huge house that, and my argument is almost twice as big as the R2 2-unit to the south of it. And I used to own 215 and 223 North Prairie, which are the two units to the left of it. So it's a huge house that's sandwiched in between 2 existing R2 2 units. And I think it's a natural fit to, connect the dots and complete the
They're
flow.
all R2, right? Are you saying duplex? They're next to duplexes?
Yeah, there are 2 duplexes.
Okay.
Yeah, the subject property is in between 2 R2 duplexes on each side.
Can I ask a question? Yeah, Randall, you said you used to own another property. What happened to that one?
Back in '06, I sold them to Bob Fryermuth Jr., HSI, because my partner and I at the time, it was our first two units, and instead of arguing with each other, we decided just to sell to a third party, and that's really what happened there. And he's my partner at the time in '03 when we bought these, and we sold them in '06. He's the one that got me down here. We both graduated from Whitewater, but he's actually the idea behind all this student housing back in the day, so. He was one of the founding members of the Pikes fraternity.
Oh, yay.
So,
Yeah. So the intention is not to flip these? And
not at all.
And you mentioned Bob, and here's my concern, is that, this will basically, as I said before with the previous applicant, we're looking for kind of a quid pro quo. You're asking for increased density. You're asking for something that isn't currently necessarily permitted, and what we say is, okay, we're knowing that it's a gateway street, we have certain expectations, and I have literally called up Bob and said, hey, you're, at this property, it's just covered with beer cans, or there's a party going on, or this thing is happening, and they say, oh, I sold that. Like, well, Bob, when you came here 2 years ago, and you wanted to have a certain, you wanted to be closer to the street, and, it really made sense, but we're also expecting a certain level of care. So I'm just going to say I'm skeptical, or I shouldn't say I'm skeptical of anyone in particular, but what are things that I like? I like seeing the plaque on the wall that says RLA. Then I know who to call if I do see something, because I would prefer to go to somebody directly rather than, make a complaint. I assume the best in people, you may not be in town. So, but knowing that, there are definitely many, many people who have come here and, well, I'm going to do this to the property, and then they're gone in 18 months, and then we're stuck,
Yeah,
right?
I think I've practiced what I preached down here for 15 years. I've been down here since, my first one was '02,
Okay.
263 North Prairie Street. I'm a typical type A personality. I think I do as good a job as anybody down here, UW-Madison, anywhere, to be honest with you. It's very tough for me to back up what I say until I can actually either remove some of these properties and build them up brand new, because that's what I'm competing against now. But a lot of these properties that I buy, I think a lot of people can back me up on this, are so far gone that I have to spend the first couple of years just getting them back to a respectable, safe level. There's some other purchases I just made around here. You guys are probably aware of, like the Landmark apartments. I'm fully committed to this. This is something that I went back and forth on for 15 years, owning 6 properties on North Prairie Street. I'm very involved with my properties at all times. All my tenants are under a certain category on my phone, and they are texted about every little thing, and it's reciprocal. I want them to tell me everything. My appliances you'll find in $300,000 to $500,000 homes in Madison. I run a different show. I want to pull the best students down here because there's a market for them.
Yep.
I'll let everyone else that wants to be a slumlord be a slumlord, because there's plenty of them across America. And it's not fun owning property that runs you. I want to run it. I want to run it properly.
You currently put signs on your property to identify the management?
I just, Chris hopefully can back me up on this. I just ordered signs for the Landmark building.
Okay.
Steve Brown Apartments out of Madison, who does very well for himself, has that bronze plaque on his buildings. 531 West Center Street that you guys approved a couple years ago for the overlay is probably the one place right now that I actually own that I actually want to stamp my name on it.
Okay.
I need to get them to a certain point so I can tell parents and students, this won't be allowed here. You cannot manage your place properly until you have something to show for it.
I don't know if we can do this, but Wally, this question is directed at you, because you have, I know that at least 2 of the properties you've come in and gotten stuff you no longer own. Can we put something on here that requires him to own the property for so long? Conditional use or no?
And that would be unusual,
Okay.
that he continue to own them. I can't say no, but I would recommend against it. I don't think it's a good policy.
That's a no.
Yeah.
But no, right.
And I don't think I would
Yeah.
even be interested in that.
Right.
That's, that's not free enterprise. But, knowing that you do own other properties and you are looking at, something as prominent as the Landmark building, I mean, you obviously want to follow through on your commitment to us, which is important. I mean, I would encourage you to have, I understand that when you want to wait until the building's in fantastic shape to put the nice bronze plaque on, but you can put a simple sign on there. To me, that is a sign of integrity and transparency. I came to you pledging to do this, and if there's a problem in the community, then, and I frankly judge the property owners who put their name out there, differently than I do the ones who hide. So that's just my suggestion. I'm not going to obviously require it, but.
I couldn't agree more. I think I do 99% of it. I just haven't ordered the sign.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
don't know what other way to put it. I mean, I've had a lot of personal things going on in the last 10 years, unfortunately, that we can all discuss another day. But I think it backs me up with where I've been. And, I don't know. Like I said, I can't stand owning property that looks bad, period. Because it gives me leverage every time to say, I did my part, you do yours. Pay your rent on time, respect my place, get your garbage out on time. It's easy to do, but, my first couple years down here when I owned stuff in North Prairie Street, Bruce Parker came up to me right away and he said, I really appreciate what you're doing. But then I sat there for almost 10 years, Wally was a part of this too, that I could not get things rezoned on that street. Where, there's several houses on that street that are just clearly should be a 2-unit or at least fill up the bedrooms. And with that comes security for the rest of the community, because guys like me can go back to the bank, first, a local bank here that I'm with, and I can have the value based on the income, and I can dump the money back into these properties like they deserve. The guys that are not doing that, that's a whole different deal with regulation and zoning as far as who's not doing, and then again, if I sell my property tomorrow, after I got approval from you guys, somebody's got to talk to these landlords that bought them from me. Because I do.
I have.
I know.
That's why
I know.
I'm saying this, because I have had problems with.
And I've seen it. I've clearly said, and I don't want to call out names, but I've sold property, and I've told family and friends, I'm like, this property went uphill, and then it went back downhill. And that's frustrating because, I wish I still owned all my stuff, but I got so frustrated with the zoning on North Prairie Street, because there's literally 3 different zonings on that street, that I walked away. Because nobody would change anything. Bruce Parker and I talked about a license before the R2A overlay happened. Kind of like a liquor license, you'd have an occupancy license. Nothing ever came of it. Nobody wanted to support it, that I'm aware of. So I took my bass for the first 10 years down here, and still came out very well and still fought through everything, because I just think common sense should prevail.
I have a question. You brought up 531 Center Street. When you came here and we approved the plans, we approved changing a dining room or a den into a bedroom. And at the time, you said you were going to repair the front porch. And instead, you rip the front porch off and you put a little set of stairs on there. If you're concerned with your integrity and with us taking you seriously, you can't do stuff like that. Every time I drive by that house, it irritates me because that's not what you asked for, but it's what you did. I'd like to see you fined every day until that porch goes back on, to be perfectly honest. Serious, I'm serious. When you come, this is a trust relationship. We need to know that when you say you're going to do something, that you're going to do it. And when you don't, it puts you in a terrible spot.
You want the
Okay.
reason for the porch being gone? The two owners that were there that had master's degrees and plenty of income didn't touch that property once, and it rotted the whole bottom of that structure of the floor. And then they also had it painted smooth, so when you had blowing snow on it, it turned into an ice rink with the best pair of shoes or boots on. And I literally had to start over with that property, and I told the city when I did that, because I had to get that concrete approved. From what I recall, I did not just rip out that porch and put in that concrete without anyone knowing about it. From what I recall.
It wasn't part of the plan.
I absolutely, I agree. I can't do anything about it, but I don't like it. I mean, that was a gorgeous porch. That might have been the selling point of that house.
You guys cannot have it both ways. That house could have been used for Halloween for a haunted house. It was that bad. There was peeling paint everywhere. The windows were letting in cold air, meaning they weren't even attached to the wood frame anymore. There were animals in there.
Well, you
Okay.
bought that property
Right, and I stuck
understanding what you had.
$100,000 into it, not including my time and labor.
And that's business.
This is what I get.
And that's business.
Right.
But what you agreed to and what you did are two different things. That's,
I put a concrete porch underneath there, steps.
you completely changed the look of that house. You completely changed it. And you never approached us about that.
I wasn't aware it was under a landmark historic, preservation situation here.
But you're talking about your own integrity and you're wanting to do things right.
I think that house
and
turned
you're
out
wanting to
very
be
well.
true.
That's an opinion of you and maybe a couple other people, but I've had a lot of compliments on that property too.
It's a beautiful house now. In his defense, it's a gorgeous property compared to what it was before. You know.
I've got a question for you here, Randy, on the old driveway that's in there now. Is that going to turn into green space? Or is that going to remain a driveway? When I went by the house, I can see where the driveway will go around to the back, but there's a piece of it looked like blacktop.
Here we go.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's in there. Is that going to get removed?
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
obviously,
that'll turn into green space there?
Yes, I do not want, I want no one parking, and no one should be parking in the front of that house at all, especially with the new spot in back. I would like to have the toters in back, the garbage toters.
Yeah.
There's plenty of room for bicycles and mopeds in the back.
That's what I was
How to
was
enforce
looking
that, I
at.
don't know, because again, every person that's gonna rent there is gonna be parking on the grass because they wanna quickly go grab something and go back to what they're doing. Going to the back of the house is extremely hard for people to do. It's an extra couple seconds out of their day they can't afford.
That's what I was looking at, was what you were
Yeah.
gonna do with the toters, the garbage toters. Those will be around back? All right, well, if there's no other public comment, I'll close the public comment then, and we'll take a board discussion.
Parking area in the back and along the side's gonna be paved?
Yes, oh yeah.
It's number one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Has to
be
be.
required to do it.
With 6 stalls, correct? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing I would suggest is that if that area becomes, on that front area becomes green space right here, maybe putting in sorry guys, right here. Maybe putting in some kind of wooden fencing to put the trash cans in so they stay there. You know what I mean?
That's what I was looking at, was maybe,
Yeah, that'd be a
maybe
good space
putting
for that.
a corral or something up
Yeah.
to put the garbage in, the totes into.
I was gonna say that the 66-foot width doesn't bother me, is that it's not 100 because the lot's 210 feet deep.
Right.
You know, it's not a traditional, you know, only one lot, it's almost two lots back.
Coming out the back, will they be going out? It looks like the sliding doors, will they be going out through the screen porch then? Is that where the entry and exit's gonna be, is in the back?
For Unit B, yeah. They can actually go out the back of the house in two different ways.
Oh, I see it here on the bigger plan. I was looking at your little one here. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, they can, the old garage that was filled in on the north side of the property, that there's an entrance there, which is that existing blacktop in the front of the house. Then they come up the stairs to the kitchen, and then they can also go out the living room through the screened-in porch, and there will be a set of steps there on the, I guess that recessed area there between the screened-in porch and the future two bedrooms on the north side there, on Unit B.
So in this recess here, that's like almost 15 feet by 11, that,
There's gonna be a set of steps on the right side of that,
yeah.
if you're looking at it from front to back.
Yeah, I was just kind of looking at where would be a good spot to stick the garbage totes so that they were easily accessible and,
On the other side of this, if we're talking about this 15 by 11 area, I think the steps against the screen and porch, and then the toters could be on that 15-foot wall.
Yeah.
Because the windows are actually pretty high on the they're actually second floor windows on that wall, that 15-foot wall.
yeah, 14.9 or whatever it is, yeah. It's just, it would make more sense there because the closer you get those totes to the stairs is the less they have to handle it, and the more likely the garbage is gonna end up in the totes.
So Unit A doesn't have any exits out the rear towards the parking, do they?
No, it's actually, Unit A, the front unit, will be just through the front porch, and then the current bedroom, that's gonna be a living room. I wish I could have a pointer, but the far right northeast bedroom on Unit A, which is, bordering up the other Unit B there, there'll be a door in the corner. I thought we had that plan on there.
We can see it though, yeah.
Yeah, basically a recessed area of, that 6-foot area right there between new living room. If we're looking at the third page, which was the Unit A and B layout, it'd be, that new living room area, that corner where that 6-foot bump out is there. Which again, we're just trying to meet fire code, which is, just making sure. I would personally like to have a sidewalk from that doorway all the way to the backyard. Because again, if my concrete guy is gonna be there doing the full driveway and the full parking lot, I'd rather have, just have all the sidewalks done so I can see the place and get it all put back together. But I don't see anyone really using that, to be honest with you, overall.
It eliminates the hard surface too.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? I agree with Tom too, is that 66 wide doesn't bother me because it is 210 deep, so.
Right.
Lynn, go ahead.
I agree with that, although I'm also taking in mind that the rear of the property faces up to Esterly Street, which has very fiercely protected their single-family neighborhood so far. I haven't heard the degree of concern expressed from that street lately that we had for a while about disturbances from Prairie Street, but we certainly don't want to be going in that direction again, and this obviously takes, well, more density and closer proximity to Esterly Street. One concern I'd have is with those parking spots and the headlights aiming into the house there on Esterly. That seems to be pretty much straight through there.
Straight through.
Would we be better off thinking about a fence there, Chris, do you
Yeah.
think?
Well, and the other thing too is that I think what we
And
need.
not just a chain link fence?
Right, like
Wood fence?
instead of fence, just put buffer fence. Because that's the intent, is that it meets the definition of the buffer. And then this is really the first time I've gotten to see the layout. And to keep people from pulling in and parking where the parking lot used to be, I think you need to put some kind of buffer or landscaping there. Because otherwise, they're just gonna pull up and park in the lawn, and then I'm gonna have to call you.
Yep.
And go, hey, man, can you get them out of the lawn? I am a little bit concerned with the way that the front is and not having direct access to the rear. I can tell you right now, you're gonna have problems, just in general, with that. As even just a landlord, I think you will. Somebody's gonna park at the front to unload all their stuff and block everybody in the back. I don't know what you're going to want to do about that, but and then the second thing too is Greg will take a crack at this, but I think that you have to have, I know that with fire code, you have to have 2 exits, and I know that sometimes windows count as the exit, but I think in this case, you might need 2 actual physical doors.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I have one, I'm not sure why it's not on this copy, but we do have one in the, that far corner of that new living room on Unit A, in that 6-foot area.
oh, okay,
I think there are 2 provided for each one.
okay. I didn't know if it was like, or the kitchen area would be another spot, because then they can just walk up and get in faster, but I mean, that's,
I know,
Yeah.
I'm trying to,
I mean,
basically-
that's just, it's right where it is, so that's why on that Unit A.
yeah, I can look at reconfiguring the kitchen. I mean, it's actually not that old, that's the issue I'm having, is taking a fairly new kitchen and reconfiguring it for a door. That, argument's sake, I totally agree with you, I mean,
I was just like,
the
that's
least-
where,
least path to resistance, especially with the college demographic, is key.
I mean, I'm just saying this from
Yeah.
personal experience. My house is the exact same way with parking, and I
Yeah.
park up at the front to unload groceries and block my husband in all the time. And then we're just 2 people, like, so you add, that's why I'm like, that's what I would be thinking about.
Did you say you are or you aren't going to have a sidewalk from the door in Unit A to the back parking lot?
I would like to put one in there. I can definitely go on records. I mean, it's not gonna cost me much to do it, especially, like I said, the concrete guy's gonna be there doing all that other work. It's gonna cost me less than $1,000.
I would think in the winter, somebody would want to be able to
Absolutely, yeah.
not walk through the grass.
I'd ask that you just add that to the recommendations, if that's the direction you guys go.
I like having the door in that living room too, because if they're hanging out there and they can't get out of the kitchen from that backside for unit A, then they can at least get to the backyard. More than likely, all 6 people, you know, in both units are gonna know each other very well. I mean, that's my goal, is to rent to the same group of people.
Why are you not in the B part where the bathroom is there? It says for future, do it. Why are you waiting? I mean, if you're gonna do all this remodeling, you know, that's a pretty small, that's a pretty
That
small-
staircase?
Pretty small bathroom for 3 people.
Yeah, it's a full bathroom right now, and that staircase being filled in would just make the bathroom bigger, which if I could do, I guess, a dual vanity, that would probably be the only advantage of adding, you know, basically starting over with that bathroom, is having another sink there for 3 adults to share. But when you have 3 adults in a house, I mean, one bathroom is sufficient. Most people disagree. I mean, if you have 2 people, it's nice to have 2 bathrooms in today's world.
I just
but-
see that you got it for the future.
Yeah.
You know, as long as you're remodeling to do it, I mean, you can stand in the bathroom, you can touch, just stand there and touch both walls
Sure. Yep.
at 5 feet.
Yep. This has a sink, toilet, and a tub shower unit already in it. And it's not like, you know, it's not a super small bathroom, but it by no means is it a large bathroom. If there was 4 or 5 adults in this place, I'd have to seriously, you know, I guess,
You could actually just change it into a second toilet and.
right. I mean, I'd like to do, you know, that could actually just be a pedestal sink and a toilet in that second area. You know, I could come up with something different there for another bathroom. You know, just have 2. At least, my goal is to at least have 2 toilets, if I can, in any of my places. You know, and where I can, I mean, I've had smaller units where I have 5 bedrooms. You know, on James Street, I have 5 bedrooms and 2 full bathrooms in a very small house, and it works great. It's just a matter of how things were laid out originally. But I'll be honest, I mean, the future bathroom there and then upstairs on the other unit, I want to do this stuff, but I can't do everything in the first year. You know, I got major expenses here just getting everything converted to a 2-unit. I have to separate utilities. I mean, that's a major expense right there, just all the driveway work, parking lot work. I'm gonna have to do exterior lighting in the back, planting, add a second kitchen. All that stuff's gotta be done in this, you know, to even occupy it for this next go-around by September 1st of 2018. But I had home lumber put in the future bathroom on the upstairs and downstairs, because that is my intention at some point, is to open those up more. But we're talking about 3 adults. I mean, they can make those full bathrooms work. I'm fully aware that some of my competitors in the new 2 units have 5 bedrooms and 5 full bathrooms per unit. And that's what I need to compete with. So I have a lot of motivation to make sure that I'm as accommodating as possible, because I also want the highest rent as possible, because that gives me the highest value as possible. And I can turn people away when I have a nice place like that, especially with the location.
Go ahead, Lynn.
Move approval of conditional use permit for 209 North Prairie Street with the conditions recommended by the city planner. Noting number 4 there, we're missing an A on minimum lot area, Chris. And then also adding a buffer fence to the east of the parking area.
Number 2, I'll just,
Okay,
Didn't we always call those opaque fences in?
I think so.
amend number 2.
Oh, okay, I didn't even notice that there.
And
Opaque fencing for the parking area. And also adding a sidewalk on the south side of the house from the exit of Unit A is what we were saying?
Rather than saying the south side, do we want to say a sidewalk from an exit of Unit A to the parking lot? Then if he chooses to change the door to the kitchen or somewhere else?
Yeah, I like that, thank you.
Can I request some more things?
Yes, I'm
Yep.
sure you may.
Putting up identification signs with name number per sign code 19.54.02010 for Christine. The
Is that my
break-
code? Is that my code now? I like it.
Yes, I will just call that the Christine code from now on. Green space converted in the front needs to be blocked off so people won't drive on the lawn. And then a spot for toters, preferably fenced.
Lynn, would you think that the opaque fence in back, 6 foot, would be high enough, or could we let it go up to 8, like we had been discussing at the last meetings?
We can do that now if we put it in per the condition. That's the, I don't know, I would want to go and look at it, because an 8 foot, I don't know.
Okay,
I just don't know.
Put it up to your discretion, then whether you think
How
the
about we
6
just
foot
say
would
buffer
cover?
to ensure, fence to ensure blocking of headlights?
That will work.
That would be my motion as added to.
I'll second.
That was Sherry, right?
All right, we've got a second. Is there any other questions or comments? No questions or comments? Then we will take it to roll call, please.
Greg Meyer,
Aye.
Lynn Benny,
I'm,
Tom Miller.
Aye.
Sorry. Christine Tobias,
Aye.
Sherry Stanek.
Aye.
All right, Tom, you're normally
You just stand.
after,
Ayes have it, so ordered.
Thank you.
Good luck with your project.
Very much.
Okay, with that, we will move on to item number 9 on the agenda. Review extraterritorial jurisdiction application form. Do that 5 times fast.
so this is the request of the plan board. I went ahead the day after the plan board meeting and got this typed up. Make this pretty fast, but I just basically went into our extraterritorial and went down through the requirements and put the requirements in. This covers both, we haven't had, all of our CSMs have been like pretty minor CSMs, anything over 5 or more lots of, I think it's 1.5 acres or more constitutes being platted, which would be a subdivision. These are geared towards both subdivisions and CSMs. Most of these, for what we've been doing, would be NA for not applicable, but what we're trying to avoid is people putting really large divisions right out, the way that the ordinance is written, right outside of the city limits, and then eventually having to hook up to our utilities with no plan in place. So that's why a lot of the extra questions are in there. We haven't actually seen any of those since I have been here. We've got the extraterritorial map up. The first line is the 1.5 miles outside of town, which is what we look at now. And then you can see the 3 mile in addition, just to give you an idea of where it is. But ours is 1.5 miles. And then I also put up, because we referenced 18.04.010. And so I just put that information up, the regulation controlling the division of land with the incorporating limits and extraterritorial of the city in order to promote public safety. And, you know, it kind of goes on from there. But anyway, this is the new form. If you guys have any questions or concerns, I'll let you can call me or email me or anything like that you want to do. Because I think you guys are all probably tired right now. So, yes, sir.
The one thing I'm wondering about right off the top is the titling there of application for extraterritorial jurisdiction doesn't ring right for me. It seems to me we've automatically got extraterritorial jurisdiction, correct? They don't have to apply for that, they've got it. So it seems to me something like extraterritorial plat review application, would
Okay.
that work?
Plat, probably slash CSM.
Yeah, well, the plat, we might have to work on, there might be CSM potentially and maybe some other things we haven't thought of right now, but
Yeah.
Lynn's point is well taken.
How about just like extraterritorial jurisdiction review?
Or
something
approval
like
or
that,
something.
Or approval or something.
I don't know that it always requires approval, so we'd have to maybe look at that too, but
I'm gonna let Wally make the decision.
we'll figure it out.
So, if you guys would, here's the information, I'll get it up on the web. If you want stuff changed, just shoot me an email. If it needs run by Wally, I'll run it by Wally and we'll get it changed, but that's per the request.
All right. Okay, with that, we will move on to item number 10, information items, possible future agenda items.
All right, so, I know there's only 5 of you guys tonight, but, per discussion, here is the report that I wrote on the Hoffman property, while we're, all of that fun stuff. If you want to look it over, Lynn, I tried to make your corrections, but I had a hard time finding some of the spelling stuff, so you're gonna see it. Sorry. You guys have questions, shoot me an email. Next plan board meeting, the CDA, the new CDA director and Larry Ketchel will be here to answer questions regarding, per the request. You guys have any topics that you'd like gone over, please shoot me an email so I can get them on so they can have a little bit more prepared. And then this is really exciting reading, so that's why I wanted to give it to you now. And I'll shoot it out also by email. The next thing is that for the first time since I've been here, we don't have a backup person on plan board. If you guys, I know, I'm like, this is kind of shocking, honestly. We had 2 people tonight that came and had to rush here, and I really super appreciate both of you, so thanks. If you guys know of anyone that would like to sign up and be an alternate, that would be.
Andrew Cohn, that was exactly the first thing that came to mind.
I think that he would be a good
Andrew Cohn.
person
Yeah.
to contact. And he was really nice to work with, to be honest with you.
He's a very nice man.
Yes, he is.
So, if you guys know of anybody that's interested, I would ask that you approach him and ask him to sign up. I think that he would be excellent if he would do it.
I think it takes more than one person. I'll email him if you want to call
Okay.
him too.
Yeah, so that would be great, guys.
Can also.
Yes. And anybody else that you guys can think of that would have an interest, this is a really cool board to be a part of, so you could just,
I agree.
it's because, oh, Lynn, come on. It's a lot of fun.
It is so much fun.
It's so much fun hanging out with me. Oh, you guys. I know, Wally just turned off his mic. Do you guys need anything else from me that you want me to work on or anything like that? If you guys think of anything, feel free to
So
shoot.
you have no applications at this point?
Oh, we
Or-
do.
Oh, you do?
We will be meeting.
Okay.
We'll be meeting next meeting. I don't know.
Well, that would be item B. The next regular plan commission meeting is September 11th of 2017.
So far, we have, I think, at least a minimum of 2 applications in. One of them's kind of gray area, but the rest of them I will, you guys will get it. I'll try to get the planners' reports to you guys sooner, because I think it's gonna be, it might be a long meeting, so. Give you something to look forward to.
I appreciate that we get everything early. I really do.
Any
Yeah,
other?
much better than it used to be.
I really try hard.
Well, we appreciate it.
Yes, we do.
Any other questions or comments or future agenda items anybody would like to put on?
It sounds like we have enough.
I'd like to see one more time, read up on this, because this is going to be pretty important stuff, so.
Yeah, if you guys see anything or have any questions or anything that you want added, please, but I mean, I did go I tried to research it well, so.
So, I mean, the only thing I want to mention about that, without getting into details, is I understand we have a new CDA director, but I'm definitely going to, won't use the word I wanted to say, I'm going to apply scrutiny to whether there is any conflict of interest on the part of a sitting board member, whether it's this board or the CDA or any other board. So if said board member also lives in the area, I'm going to raise an objection. I just want to make that clear.
Okay.
So,
I
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Any other questions, comments? All righty, then, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We got a second.
All right. Thank you guys for coming tonight.
Oh, we got to take a voice?
Sorry.
Would be a good idea.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
Messed up.